It's been a busy couple of weeks, whereas the Realme 6 launched first, and despite the naming, that's actually the successor to the Realme 5 Pro. Then launched the Redmi Note 9 Pro, which again, despite the naming, is actually the successor to the Redmi Note 8, kind of. Now, but these two phones, they've ended up being priced pretty close to each other, or actually exactly the same, which means anyone in the market for a phone in this price segment, you have to choose between these two. So what are the pros and cons of each phone? What is the better bang for your buck? That is what we're gonna find out in today's video. Hey guys, Ash here from C4E Tech, and as always, if you do like what you see in this video, subscribe and please consider turning on notifications by hitting that bell icon. Let's now roll that intro. Pick these phones up and the first thing you notice is the difference in weight. The Note 9 Pro feels heavier, and that is with good reason. Redmi's gone with a glass back, we have Corning's Gorilla Glass 5 here, and even to the front we've got the same. That is why the Note 9 Pro weighs in at 209 grams, almost 20 grams over the Realme 6. From a looks perspective, they're both pretty nice to look at, and both are splash resistant, and they both have the same dual SIM plus dedicated microSD option. But Redmi has another advantage here. It's got a notification LED and an AR blaster, both of which are found lacking on the Realme 6. So yeah, the smaller and lighter Realme 6 or the more premium and feature-packed Redmi Note 9 Pro, which also happens to be larger and heavier. Now that's the choice that we are going to have to contend with. Frankly, I prefer the Redmi Note 9 Pro here. Now the reason why the Note 9 Pro is larger, it's twofold. The first being that it's got a larger display, 6.67 inches compared to 6.5 on the Realme 6. Both these panels, they look good. The Note 9 Pro might be a tad brighter, but there's not a lot different from a looks, colors or viewing angle standpoint. But when we start using them, that's when we do notice a difference. The Realme 6's display, it has a 90Hz refresh. This is something really noticeable even when we are just using the phone for regular day-to-day tasks. So for the display, I most definitely prefer the Realme 6. Now moving on to what's actually on the inside, the Redmi Note 9 Pro, it has the new Snapdragon 720G, while the Realme 6, Realme's opted to go with the MediaTek Helio G90T here. Now that's the same chip on last year's Redmi Note 8 Pro. So does this mean the Note 9 Pro has the better chip here? Not really. On the CPU heavy benchmarks like Geekbench 5, the 720G does indeed come out ahead. Not a huge difference, but it does seem to have an edge. But when we look at compound benchmarks, they're pretty close. And if you take a closer look, you can see that the MediaTek G90T does fare better with GPU. Now for all intents and purposes, they are equally fast. In the time that I spent with them, neither lagged or had any stability issues. They felt fast, but the Realme 6, it felt a little more fluid because of that 90Hz refresh. This was all the more noticeable when playing games that supported higher refresh rates. With titles like Mortal Kombat and Rules of Survival, the Realme 6, it shined here. The experience felt much better, and it is worth mentioning that the Realme 6 is also sampling touches at 120Hz, so that's helping out too. Now for those into PUBG, at smooth graphics settings, while the Redmi Note 9 Pro's frame rates are limited to Ultra, the Realme 6 can crank it all the way up to Extreme. That said, both experiences are quite good though. No frame drops, no heating issues. As for RAM storage, both phones are available in 464 and 6128 configs. Realme does offer a 8128 extra option. Both Realme and Redmi have gone for UFS 2.1 across all variants. So overall, from a performance standpoint, I have to give this round to the Realme 6. That combination of the 90Hz panel and the Helio G90T, it is quite hard to beat. The Note 9 Pro though hits right back with the battery life. Remember this from earlier in this video? The Note 9 Pro has a 5020 mAh battery that's 15% higher capacity than what's on the Realme 6. Also, the 720G is built on the 8nm process compared to 12 on the G90T on the Realme 6. So this combination of the 5020 mAh battery and the 8nm chip and the 60Hz panel, it outdoes the very respectable 43 mAh battery plus 12nm chip plus 90Hz display on the Realme 6. It's not that the Realme 6 isn't good. It does well even with the 90Hz display turned on, or rather the 90Hz setting turned on. The phone can last a day of moderate to heavy use, but the Note 9 Pro, it can get to almost the end of day 2. The Realme 6 can charge faster though. It's got 30-watt VOOC 4.0 flash charge support with the charger in the box. It allows it to go from 0 to 100 in about an hour. The Redmi Note 9 Pro, on the other hand, it's got an 18-watt charger again in the box, but that takes a little over 2 hours to get from 0 to 100. Now, despite that, when it comes to battery, I'm definitely going to go with the Note 9 Pro. It just has a higher capacity battery that lasts a lot longer. As for software, both these phones have their own custom interfaces. The Realme 6 runs on Realme UI, while the Note 9 Pro is on MIUI 11, both based on Android 10. I chalked this one down to personal preference. The speaker is a little cleaner on the Note 9 Pro, so that's an advantage. The audio via the headphone jack is more or less similar on both, so nothing much there. The Note 9 Pro does have an edge with haptic feedback. Redmi's gone with the better haptic motor here, and it also has support for Navic, which the Realme 6 lacks. So sundries, Redmi Note 9 Pro. Both phones have 4 cameras to the back. The primary, it's a Samsung sensor on both the phones. Realme has the 64 megapixel GW1, while Redmi's gone for Samsung's GM2 sensor, which is 48 megapixels. Side-by-side images shot under well-lit conditions turned out good. When we zoom in, like for example on this too-late board here, we can see that the Realme 6's images are a tad sharp compared to the Note 9 Pro's. The Note 9 Pro also has a tendency to warm up the images. The Realme 6 gets more natural colors. Speaking of colors, we have Chroma Boost and a Pro Color option on the Realme and Redmi respectively to get punchy saturated pictures if that's what we want. Moving on to low light shots, the night mode on the Note 9 Pro tends to go for higher ISOs, which is why we often see a lot more noise on the images. Despite that, the Realme 6 still comes out with the better image. They are often brighter and more colorful and even have more detail. So this again is advantage Realme. Moving on to the 8 megapixel ultra wide, seems like the detail levels are mostly similar across the board, but the Realme 6 does do a tad better when it comes to dynamic range. The Note 9 Pro's 5 megapixel macro camera, though, it outperforms the Realme 6's 2 megapixel macro by a huge margin. This was not even close. The Note 9 Pro destroys the Realme 6 here. The details, the colors, everything. The final sensor, it's a 2 megapixel depth sensor. While the edge detection is about on par, the same characteristics of the primary sensor show up here. The image is warmer on the Note 9 Pro. I like the Realme 6's portraits more. Turning around to the front cameras, we have two 16 megapixel snappers side by side. We also managed to get some portrait selfies. The Note 9 Pro, it actually fares better with the colors, capturing more natural looking skin tones. Coming to video capture, both phones are capable of 4K 30 FPS footage side by side. Once again, it is advantage Realme, better details and more natural colors. The footage does need stabilization, which we do get at 1080p. We have Ultra Steady and Max Ultra Steady on the Realme 6, and it seems to do a pretty good job. One unique thing that Redmi have done here is given us the ability to shoot in 8-bit log thanks to a stellar manual mode. Okay, so verdict time, the pricing, it's the same 12,999 or 13,000 rupees for the base 464 variant. So nothing there. If you do opt for the 6128 variant though, the Redmi Note 9 Pro is gonna cost you 1,000 rupees more than the Realme. So 15,000 rupees for the Realme 6, 16 for the Note 9 Pro. Now between these two, I'm personally gonna go with the Realme 6 because it seems to be the better bang for your buck. The Redmi Note 9 Pro, it's not a bad phone, it is a decent offering, it even does a few things better. The build is most definitely superior, so is the macro camera and the battery life. But the Realme 6, it has a lot more going for it. It's got that 90Hz panel, the stronger internals, faster charging, overall better cameras, and the battery life, while not as good as the Redmi Note 9 Pros, it's still gonna last a day of moderate to heavy use even with 90 Hz. And if you wanna go for the higher RAM storage, then hey, this is the only option, and with 6128 it's still cheaper. So the Realme 6, it's gonna be my pick between these two. What about you? What is your preference? Which of these two would you choose if you were to pick between these two, and why would you choose that? Let me know in the comments below. And with that, we get to the end of this comparison video. Thumbs up, thumbs down based on whatever you felt about it. Subscribe and turn on notifications by hitting that bell icon if you haven't yet. Thanks a lot for watching. Till next time, my name's Ash. You've been watching C4 Retech, and I'm signing off for now. You guys have a great day. Bye-bye.